Welcome to the Investing Podcast presented by Tusk Media. The final bell has rung and the market is now closed. So let's move on to an audio and video recap with the Investing Happy Hour.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Investing Podcast. This is your Investing Happy Hour for Wednesday, July 13th, 2016. Glad to be back. Hope you guys had a great day. We had a good day. I think I mentioned earlier that we had somebody bringing us barbecue for lunch, so we had a little catered lunch action inside the office, got the whole crew together, chowed down. We had really good brisket, which you guys have seen me eat before. You're welcome that I didn't do it again on video. So really good brisket. Pork was pretty good. Ribs were so-so, but the brisket was phenomenal. The mac and cheese was insane. The collards were great. So really good lunch. Had a solid portfolio management meeting. These things have been running really long lately, and we're having a good time. I think if you go back and listen to the podcast called The New Guys, in which we had the new guys step in and talk about what they're doing in their role as analysts, you probably heard us talking kind of about the lively discussion and all that good stuff. We had one of those today. We had a solid pitch or two from Ben Nye, our new senior equity analyst. So had a lot of fun. It was a fun day, good day, interesting day though for the market, and that's where we're going to start off. Market, Dow up 13 basis points, S&P up 1 basis point, NASDAQ down 34 basis points, Global Dow up 21, gold up just a little bit, oil down 3.7%, closed right around $45, so $45.03 for oil again, well off that $50 mark that we've been kind of keeping our eye on, but again, still much higher than those low 30 prices that we saw not too long ago in the grand scheme of things. But interesting day, which kind of brings us to a new segment, and we'll probably forget all of our segments, so if you think this is going to be recurring, joke's on you, we'll probably never do this again, but our new segment is called Wait, What? And what we're looking at here is just kind of numbers that almost seem to contradict themselves, and we've talked a lot actually on newsletters in the past about what the market is, the market. We tend to rely at Narwhal on the S&P 500. We just feel like that's a good encapsulation, especially of the universe of stocks that we typically play in. The Dow seems to be a little bit small for our liking, the NASDAQ as well. We really like to use the S&P 500, but this has been a really interesting year because we're really starting to see a lot of deviation among those things, which really, if you even just look at recent headlines for these things, you could kind of draw those conclusions. So the S&P 500, of course, really recently, I think it was earlier this week, hits a record high, so that's great. Good news, that was an intraday high and the highest close on record for the S&P 500. But the Dow, on the other hand, just finally got there today. So the Dow closed at a record high for the index. So again, you're seeing kind of this positive trend, but it's always a little bit interesting to see some of the dispersion there. But then you've got the NASDAQ. The NASDAQ down more than 1/3% today, and the NASDAQ has now washed out its gain for the year. So up until today, the NASDAQ was positive year to date. If you look at the close of December 31st versus the close of today, we're now no longer positive. We are basically at a small loss year to date. So that's just kind of one of those odd things. You know, you're talking about two major indices and saying, hey, they've set record highs. And when you think of record highs and you think of the fact that, hey, the market was positive in 09, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and now 16 for these indices, it's crazy to think that, hey, we've actually got one. That's how you do a dotted circle. We've got one index that's just straight up lagging, not just the others, but actually negative for the year. So interesting little tidbit there. So if you look at these headlines, they almost seem to contradict themselves. So you almost have to do some self-evaluation and decide, hey, what do I view as my benchmark on equities? What do I view as the definition of, quote unquote, the market? There's not really a right or wrong answer to some of this stuff. Again, if you're comparing yourself to a small cap index, but you use large cap stocks in your portfolios, that's going to create some issues, and it's going to be hard to compare because you'll be talking a little bit, not so much apples and oranges, but you'll be talking about Granny Smith apples versus juicy red apples. You don't really want to get into that battle, but take a look at it and decide what you think. For a lot of people, I feel like, especially that are a little bit older, no offense, they tend to think of the market as the Dow. People that are maybe a little younger tend to think of the S&P 500 or even like a Wilshire index or some of these that are even broader. But take a look at that, because if you don't really examine that, again, these headlines seem to contradict themselves. So this has been Wait, What? And we'll try to do this segment again at some point. Yum Brands, solid numbers after the bell. Yum Brands reported 81 cents per share in EPS for the quarter. It's 53 cents per share for a year ago. So the stock's doing pretty well in aftermarket trading, which brings us to other things that are happening after market close. Our war is continuing on against MarketWatch. To get you back up to speed, we did a long podcast discussing ways that you could invest in this new Pokemon Go craze. About 18 hours later, they ran a short, I thought poorly researched article about how you could invest in Pokemon Go. I was reading through it, and it was actually written by a guy named Cody Willard, who I appreciate. Tweet at him. He's at Cody Willard. And tell him that you thought he didn't do a good job with this article. There's no way he's any further along in this game than maybe a level 8 Pokemon trainer. You could tell he really hadn't put in the time that is necessary to really understand the game and the investing implications. So I thought it was really poorly done. I thought it was kind of distasteful for them to really copy what we were doing on a much, much more important platform like we have here with the Investing Podcast. So the MarketWatch watch continues. Late breaking developments. They still have not assembled a Pokemon hunting team to compete against us one-on-one today. We've got a group. I think we're going to have 10 people showing up at the office. If you're in the Atlanta area, it's not too late. Get here at 5:30 p.m. This is Wednesday, 5:30 p.m. We're doing a Pokemon Go hunt. We're going to look for Pokemon. We're going to look for new Pokemon. We want new ones that are unique. Pokemon. I don't know if there's a plural of that. Pokemons. Austin, any thoughts? Pokemon. We're going to look for Pokemon. We're going to look for unique ones. We're going to drop some lure tags when we get to some Pokespots. And we're going to think about ways that we can invest in this because we're not going to let MarketWatch dictate this investment thesis. We're going to dictate it. We were the first ones to do this. We're going to continue to be. MarketWatch, still on watch. See y'all in the morning. Have a great night.
Tusk Media is a subsidiary of Narwhal Capital Management. Ratings and reviews of Tusk Media content are not to be construed as endorsements of opinions, analysis, or services offered by Tusk or its parent company. The opinions and predictions shared here are professional beliefs at the time of publication. We are not under duress from any of the corporate entities mentioned. This is not a solicitation to take any particular action. Although we are investment advisors, this information should not be considered investment, legal, or tax advice. We strive to be as impartial, insightful, and accurate as possible. We base our opinions, analysis, and calculations on information we believe to be reliable, but we cannot guarantee its accuracy. We can, however, guarantee that our opinions will sometimes be flat out wrong due to a variety of factors. Employees and clients of Narwhal Capital Management may or may not hold positions in the securities detailed and may or may not hold these positions in the future. A full list of all securities purchased, sold, or held during the 12 months preceding the date of this publication can be provided upon request. Unless otherwise noted, all data accessed via MarketWatch or the Bloomberg terminal. Past performance does not guarantee future results. A copy of Narwhal's Form ADV is available at the SEC's website, www.advisorinfo.sec.gov, or from Narwhal upon written request.